Makers. It's Dr. Sarah Larson in UBN Studios in Hollywood, California. And I am so excited about this show. This show has been divinely guided and divinely placed on air to bring you home into your own body. Burlesque dancing, creative self-expression. There's a lot of names we could have called the show, but this is truly going to wake you up to your own I am presence. And in studio with me is our amazing, delicious co-host.
Delicious. I like that.
Yes.
Tell me some more there.
The love of my life. Who truly, truly embodies the miraculous, the mindset of miracles, and Greg Larson in the house.
Thank you. Welcome, Miracle Makers, to another fantastic, amazing, divinely guided show. It's just been such an amazing experience these last few weeks doing the show with you, my love.
Oh, it is.
My life has improved so many more times. I won't even put a limit on it by saying 100 times or 1,000. It's like my life is so much better doing this awesome project with you and sharing this journey of being miracle makers and just stepping into the magic and mystery. My life is so blessed doing this with you. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Our lives are so blessed these days. We were guided clearly to change the name from mediums, mysteries, and miracle makers to just miracle maker.
Yeah.
Part of it is being students of A Course in Miracles, being students of making things happen over and over again. When I think about it, I was born in a third world country. I'm not supposed to be alive based on how I was brought out of the uterus, based on my own stories. And so my entire life, that's been consistent. Miracle maker. And it's being the space for the miraculous to come through, letting go of whatever isn't miraculous and connected, and allowing the divine to come in. And so truly, our first project together was happy as humanly possible. Yeah. And we can truly say right now, we are happy as humanly possible. And part of that is thanks to our next guest, our special guest in studio. Part of the work that she does to bring people home into their bodies, bring people into who they are through a very sacred and fun way to do it. She teaches burlesque dancing, and she is the founder and CEO of Burlesque Basics. We have Madeline Sinclaire in the house.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah.
I am so grateful to put you on air and put you everywhere that UBN is, everywhere that Miracle Makers is. And on one of my shows, we've got 25 million subscribers all over the world. And Miracle Makers are those that truly know we have superpowers locked within us. And superpowers are activated by taking action and by embodying and allowing the miraculous to come through. And Madeline, when I heard your story, your first story around how you came in to being a burlesque dancer, and you're going to be on Bravo within a few days. You're going to be on Bravo.
I sure hope so.
That amazing story of being painfully shy and your first marriage. And could you just bring us back to what it was like to be you before burlesque dancing made its way into your life?
I would love to. So I was raised Catholic and in the Midwest, and I was a very shy girl. I loved expressing myself. I was always kind of outrageous with how I dressed, so it's kind of fitting that I still am. But I was very awkward. So I got married pretty young, I'd say in my early 20s, and it was interesting because my ex-husband was the only man that I'd ever been with. So my way of experiencing my body and sexuality was rooted in that one thing and that one experience. So
I remember you saying that your husband was the first person you slept with.
yeah, and not
Yeah.
many people know that. You're all hearing it now. But yeah, he was.
And that's the story of so many women. Yes,
It's true.
please continue. I just wanted to make that point. Was there was a space of this was your first door, first opening, first experience, and then being married. What was that like?
Being married had its good parts and its bad parts. I felt very, what's the word I'm looking for? I felt very closed and restrained and reserved while I was married because I was still shy and I really didn't know how to express myself. The way my ex-husband and I experienced each other was we kind of created a space where I felt criticized a lot and he felt, it's a story that's very common in a lot of marriages where he felt nagged and I felt criticized, and I didn't really have a lot of room for self-expression in a lot of ways. So when we divorced, it's been almost 10 years now, I decided I really needed to explore my sexuality and my body and figure out how I fit in with myself as well as in the world.
It's one of those things that you really went in and everything you knew about yourself was disappearing and you were in this gray space. And miracle makers, oh, listen up. When you let go of the past and get into a gray space, so much. And were you afraid during those periods?
I was never afraid.
Yeah.
It was almost like when I was free of what was holding me back, whether it was self-imposed or not, I was really free. And it was like I put my hand over my eyes and I jumped off the cliff, literally. And people couldn't believe how fearless I was because I'd been so afraid in the past that I was just like, let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's do it. And how did you step into the let's go, let's do it space? Because the dancing class that you took, that you and your friend were talking about, like, oh, let's do this. Let's try this. Let's go into this. And I know that dancing class was when the mask really came off.
Right. It sure did. We went to a nightclub in Los Angeles, and I was watching my friend dance, and I was like, "Gosh, I want to know how to dance like that. Like not for anybody, but just for me. I want to learn how to dance sexy." So I dragged her to a burlesque class, and she went with me, and I went. I literally could not move my hips because it's very common for women, even though we're supposed to be able to move our hips, we don't because we lock a lot of energy in our hips. So I had a hard time loosening up that energy and getting comfortable with just moving my hips. And then I went from taking a burlesque class to 3 months later being in a show and 5 months later teaching a class.
And
Oh.
woohoo! 3 months to have the magical mindset of take the mask off, take all of it off, and be free, being at home in your body. And your first class, you couldn't even move your hips. And you weren't able to, because there was so much trapped energy there. as a medical doctor, I know that the root, the basics of the ganglia, the nerve bundles that live there correspond with ancient science, Chinese medicine, with the chakra system. And the root system, the nerves that are there, when we dance for ourselves, when we dance sexy, and unleash that energy, something becomes alive in us. And I know you've won titles. You've gone all over in the last 10 years, and you've made it your mission to bring people home to themselves, the painfully shy, those that couldn't imagine seeing themselves or liking themselves, taking a class, taking private sessions, or getting some of your burlesque basics from your website and sending you pictures of performing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So burlesque has really set me up for success. Going from being painfully shy, as I started performing and literally becoming free by taking everything off and peeling away the layers, I actually became more outgoing. I had more energy. I was able to relate to people more. It was like a complete and total transformation. I used to be blonde. So you can see there's a whole transformation that happened, not just physically, but in terms of my mindset and my energy. And it was really exciting because I was no longer afraid of giving presentations or talking on the radio or having my photo taken. I felt beautiful because I did it for me. And there's nothing like going on stage for the first time and the exhilaration and the endorphins that are released just from dancing, and nobody else has to even be there, and you're free.
Yes.
You're so free. So yeah, I've traveled a lot of places. I've traveled internationally. I've won several titles. Last year I got first runner up at Viva Las Vegas, which is kind of a big deal in the burlesque community because it's one of the bigger burlesque competitions. I also got best performer in Albuquerque, and I'll be headlining that festival this year. And then I have most glamorous because I like glamour, and
you
also
are
most.
glamorous.
Thank you so much.
See her in studio. This is one you want to see live. She's gorgeous raven hair, blue, ocean blue, baby blue, sparkling blue eyes, red, glamorous lips and mouth. This is one you want to catch and see live as well.
Thank you so much.
And so you've won all of these titles. And as a woman, we have one experience in our bodies. And I'd love to bring you in, Baby Larson, Greg Larson. Woo! What is your experience as a man? Could you see yourself waking up more through a dynamic like this? What comes up for you?
You know what? When I was younger, when I was like in junior high and high school, I was not a dancer. I never thought of myself as a dancer, and I never went to a dance in school.
Yes.
I was kind of a cool kid anyways, and of a different crowd, so there's just something we wouldn't do anyway. So my friends never encouraged it also. But when I got into college, I got mixed up with this crazy group of students from Greece and Italy, and they were dancing and smashing glasses on the floor and going crazy, breaking plates, and the restaurant would set that up for them so they could just unleash himself on the dance floor. And I awoke myself to dancing and expressing myself that way. And it totally changed my life too. So that's what I would say, Miracle Makers, is I challenge you to find a class, whether it's taking it with Madeleine or another, wherever you live locally. Put yourself in that space where you can unleash yourself with dance, whether it's salsa or samba or burlesque, whatever that is. Because as you can tell with Madeleine's story, it has that power to unlock you, to unleash you. And it did it for me. It sounds like it did it for you. And I don't know about you, but...
Yes. Well, the painful part of my story, which I shared with Madeleine, was that it wasn't until our second child that I could be in a space with lights on and naked in a room with you just looking at me.
Yeah.
And it was through basically having a really negative body self-image, a tortured sexual experience to start my journey and path, and lots of shame, waves and waves of shame. And when we first met, we went out dancing every single night. We went in the Nashville scene. And you were this wild musician, and I was the Mother Teresa of medicine. Like, what am I doing here? From the non-government organizations, the charity hospital systems that I was in, and God just kept saying, stay with this, hang out.
Go dance. Go dance. Go dance.
And what's really funny is my husband had long hair, and he wasn't my type at all. But I was free to listen to Source because I'd cultivated that relationship very strongly in myself. And when Source said, hang out with him longer, with my little furrowed eyebrows, I'd look at myself in the mirror and go, what am I doing? I go out further, and we go out dancing again, and more and more and more of me woke up. And today, through dancing, through that complete self-expression, I don't fear being naked. And the nakedness has nothing to do with being sexy for someone else. It totally has to do with me being at home with myself and embodying miracle makers, embodying all that's possible for you to experience with yourself in your body. And I want that for you. And I see that as a possibility of healing all sorts of things. I know that you were, Madeleine, at a performance, and you had a very special experience that helped you understand how important this work is.
Yes. Burlesque really knows no boundaries. It doesn't matter how old you are, how physically abled you are, at what size, shape you are. It doesn't matter. I was at my first festival in Colorado, and I was backstage, and there was a young man who had Down syndrome backstage putting on a costume. And his mother came backstage, and she was checking on him, and he was fine. He was having a blast. So it was his turn to go on stage. I was actually, I'm getting ahead of myself, but he was about to go on stage, and I watched from the sidelines. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody perform burlesque with so much happiness and fulfillment and excitement as this young man. And the audience stood up. They gave him a standing ovation, and he came back and he was like, oh my God, that was the best. And everybody jumped on him. And suddenly a woman came backstage and she said, how dare you? How dare you put someone on stage who can't make decisions? And his mother came back and she said, he wanted to do this. He chose to do this. And I support him, and everybody out there in the audience supports him. And it was awesome. It was incredible.
Woo! I want to cheers for that one. The common denominator for all of us is we have these bodies, and each one of these bodies has cells within them and nerve bundles and chakra systems. And that boy, embodying his truest form of expression that he could come through with, made him express himself to the highest degree. It is the woman that was saying, shame on you, that took that to a sexual connotation rather than the connotation that burlesque and this type of art and performance has inspired out into the world. doing a little bit of research about you and a little bit about the burlesque dancing world in this country, it really came out as to be humorous and for us to comedic a performance that could just put everyone at ease and yet come more alive in their bodies. Can you share a little bit about what that's like?
Well, burlesque history is very interesting. It goes back very far. It goes back to the 1800s, actually.
Yes.
But you're correct. It was a little bit more, it was satirical. It was funny. Women had very interesting, unique ways of expressing themselves. That's where a lot of the burlesque shticks come from. Tassel twirling. All of these inventions here came from history. So, I what I love about it is that I can bring history alive in that I'm expressing myself using beautiful props, beautiful clothing, and kind of bringing those women on stage with me every single time I perform, because they really paved the way for me to be able to do this. They actually they paved the way for women's equality, women's rights in ways that people don't really realize.
Which is so important, that women have been asleep inside their bodies, and we've been domesticated, so to speak, to not fully embody ourselves. So many men as well throughout the world not allowed to express their wild nature even with themselves. Growing up Catholic, within the Catholic Church, a lot of the information is around don't sexualize yourself at all. I remember I went to Catholic school as well, and I remember a lecture being given by a nun sharing what happens if you touch parts of yourself, even if you think about touching parts of yourself, or highlighting any aspect of yourself to yourself in a mirror was a sin, and that you were going to burn in hell for eternity for this impulse or this thought that came up. And this was in 7th, 8th grade, as we were coming into the hormonal surges. And it was such a difficult space for myself and all of our friends to be in. And in the South, in most of the world, most men and women have not given themselves permission to be fully alive in that area. And they're still stuck in the 1800s, so to speak. And if you can practice with yourself, I love that you brought some props in, and you're going to have to watch this show, the recording studio, because we've got a gorgeous ostrich pink fan that's in studio that I've seen your pictures show on your website. You have an amazing website, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. And I know when people go, they get the Madeline Sinclair secrets, burlesque secrets, and they're able to see this prop that you have. Tell us what working with this has done for you, and for the people that you teach, having feathers, having things that become part of you as you unleash your wild ability to be alive.
What's wonderful about burlesque props is it gives you something to do with something besides just your body. You know, when I teach burlesque, I actually teach people to touch themselves. You have to get comfortable touching yourself, and it's okay to touch yourself. Nothing bad is going to happen. But having props actually gives you a little something more to play with. Because sometimes you can be like, okay, I'm touching myself. What else do I do? Well, you can get a prop. And what we do with these, I don't want to get too far away, but we actually caress ourselves with these. When I teach feather fans, I say, the purpose of the feather fan is to caress your body with it and let the people watching you imagine that they're touching you where the fan is touching you. So, and it's a very sensual piece of prop. You know, Sally Rand in the 1920s performed with very large feather fans, and it was quite scandalous. She was actually arrested because they thought she was naked, and we don't really know if she was actually naked or not. But she actually used these a lot, and they're very sexy, and it's like having an extension of your body, and you get to be a bird also all at the same time. I love these. This is my specialty. I fell in love with these from the get-go. My first act that I ever did was a feather fan dance. I built the fans all by myself from scratch, and my business is now building feather fans so people can have these props and enjoy them.
And you ship all over the world. And it's
That's
one
right.
of, much like the young Down syndrome, a boy that was on stage who unleashed his expression in that. These fans become a way when you're able to feel your own body and what the experience of that is like for you in the mirror, in listening in the 10 tips, the 10 secrets that are available. It makes possible that if there was any sexual harm done to you or perpetrated on you by another, you have now taken your body back, and you've done it. Feathers in shaman tradition, feathers in Egypt represent healing. They represent the magical and the divine. And it's interesting. I'd love, what happens for a man? What do you think would happen if you were able to use feathers? I know that we've had some wild Halloweens and some costumes and some parties that we've been part of, but that these costumes, what happens when you have props as a man, or in your experience so far?
Those are some pretty tantalizing props, I must say. They're like, I'd have to try it out myself and see what happens. But ultimately, I think it comes down to, there's fear around sexuality and expressing sexual energy.
Yes.
And, it doesn't serve us to allow that to constrain our self-expression or who we are as human beings. So anything that you can do to unleash your sexuality, to express your sexuality, to feel sexual, is a good thing. I mean, the miracles come from energy flowing. And if you allow your sexual energy to be constrained, you're shutting off the mechanism for miracles from happening in your life.
So I hope you hear that, miracle makers. This is about the root chakra and the creative chakra.
Yeah.
The first and second chakras, the first and second nerve bundles that are involved in our body. We are created from an act of sexual act. And the nerve, every cell divides. And we as a society have been holding, a worldwide global society, have been not leashing. We've been holding down. We've locked in the two most creative, most empowering chakras. And because of that frustration, war, because of that frustration, lack of self-expression, all of these outside things. Oh, maybe if I have a degree. Oh, maybe if I have this car. Or maybe if I have this. But everything you need was given to you. And at some level, we, through the religion, through whatever religion, have suppressed it. Through the good girls don't do this, or good boys don't feel this. We negate much of our power. And so, Madeleine, I'd love for you to share some of the stories of some of the clients that you've worked with and what has happened for them.
So I used to also teach pole dancing along with burlesque, and our studio kind of became known as a studio that people found a lot of healing. They didn't just find healing, but they found family and community because the studio really geared itself towards creating a safe space to express yourself. And so many of us who went there didn't have a place to express ourselves, and it was shameful. It was shameful to shake your hips. It was shameful to do bumps and grinds. It was shameful to do anything. So all of us kind of came in being very uncomfortable and like, wait, I can do this? Oh, okay. And then over a couple of weeks, you're like, I can do this. And it's awesome. And I can't wait to do that. And I can't wait to do my dance by myself. And I can't wait to pick my music to do this and that and the other thing. So, I because I taught there, I got a lot of clients who had been sexually or physically abused or had some sort of trauma that was holding them back. And they would come in and I would watch them walk in, and they would always hang out at the back of the class, and they would be terrified. And I would have to spend a lot of time teaching them to walk, because there's a special burlesque walk where you really have to move your hips, and it would take a lot of time to unlock that screw and bolt that was keeping it, tight. And eventually those women would be like, okay, I want to create a burlesque act. I want to go on stage. I want to do this. And they would go out there and they would get hooked just like I did.
Yes.
And it was incredible to watch them literally bloom like flowers.
And the stories of success where their relationships began to thrive. They were able to wear clothes, try things, travel.
Yeah, I'm rolling my eyes right now because it's just amazing, because that like something can hold you back that hard. Having something happen in your past can literally root you and keep you in the past and keep you from moving forward, and how just loosening that one little bolt can just change your life. People have gone on to change jobs. They've quit jobs. I did it as well, to go either pursue their dreams or take jobs where they were more valued.
Where your root chakra is I am, your second chakra I create, your third chakra I will, and then opening up to your heart chakra. Many people can practice, and I know your clients practice just for themselves without ever going up on stage. And so, miracle makers, this is so important to get. You don't ever have to go into this with another intention other than waking that rooted power within you up. And that we both have daughters. Greg and I have our daughter together. She's 11. I know you have a daughter. What is it, as a mom, part of your reason for doing this is to help her to stay in the miraculous, the miracle maker mindset of never getting stuck. What is it that you want the daughters, the children, the women and men of the world that are coming up to know?
I really want our sons and our daughters to really embrace and feel free to express themselves, full self-expression in their lives, in their relationships, in their jobs, and that they can really do whatever it is that they can dream up, as long as they don't get stuck in a mindset, whether it comes from a parent or a grandparent. I'm sure we all have stories about, that grandparent that said, oh, you don't want to do that. You want to do this. And then we kind of make a U-turn, right? So it's really important to me that my daughter grow up really believing that she can be anything she wants to be and be fully self-expressed in every way with everyone.
That's so beautiful. And Greg, I'm going to ask you what you want our daughter to embody. But before you do, I'm going to I want my daughter to never feel that she's just a sexual object. And by owning her own expression in her physical body, she negates someone else imposing on her this energy of being just a sexual object or just limited by what society thus far might have created in many places in the world. I want her to own and fully be alive in every area of her life. And I know that's what you're sharing here, the powerful I can do it woman, that if she wants to be on stage, if she wants to travel, the Amelia Earhart, amazing out into outer space, whatever it is, she can do that and never be limited by someone else's expression of what it is to be a woman or what it is to own that power.
I mean, I have tears coming to my eyes.
Oh,
Because our daughter is so precious and she's so self-empowered right now at 11.
yes.
And to have something happen that would mute that would just crush me.
Yeah.
And so what comes to mind as you guys were sharing there, what comes to mind is not only allowing girls to fully express themselves, but to be in a community with men who aren't looking at it as a sexual act, but as an act of self-expression, and totally supporting that. And then if there's someone that she is attracted to, that those two can have a fully expressed sexual experience, and the community of men and women around them, grandmothers, mothers, fathers, brothers, everyone can value her self-expression just as that and honor that space. And as human beings, we should be able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for our son, for our nephew,
Yeah.
for all those generations. And if you catch this live now, possibly my mascara is running all over the place because we're all teary. I hesitated to put on mascara beforehand because I was like, oh, this feels so emotional. And it is such a powerful show because there's so much trapped in society. The 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 women, men are sexually abused. The prison system filled with all of those that are not fully allowed to express themselves completely. The world over, wars being waged over this. And to really know that boys and girls, and it's possible, we have to embody it ourselves first. We have to come alive within our own, be at home in our own expression. And just because there were not those expressions, one of the stories that you shared with me was the first time you saw on the internet that there was other positions, other things that you could see that woke you up. I want to hear what's happening for you, Madeleine, as we're talking.
Because my eyes are tearing.
Yes.
Well, I was just thinking, and I get emotional about it because I don't know where I'd be without burlesque. Like, had I not discovered this for myself, I would still be in a marriage that I wasn't happy in. I'd be teaching my daughter the wrong message. Maybe not the wrong message, I shouldn't judge it, but teaching her a different message that was the message I was stuck in. And also not living a life that I love. You know, I worked corporate for many years, and it took a lot of courage to leave it and do this against everybody's opinions about what I should do. And it was a risk. But I can't imagine my life without it. I can't.
Yes.
I would be shy. I wouldn't have a great relationship with my boyfriend. I wouldn't have a lot of the things I have in my, or the people and the experiences and the opportunities and everything that's happened. has been amazing. And it's true what you said. You don't have to go on stage. Burlesque can open up your life no matter what. Even if you do it in your bedroom with candles lit and your lights really dim with a glass of wine, it doesn't matter. Even if you get a bunch of girlfriends together and you take a class together, it's just something that brought so much joy to me. And I've seen it bring a lot of joy to others.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful for men and for women. And you've got on your website the Madeline Sinclair's 10 Secrets, Burlesque Secrets. And I encourage everyone that's hearing this to go to the website, sign up for the newsletter, to get the secrets and to playfully allow yourself to dive in to what's possible. And Greg, what is coming up for you as we're continuing on this journey to really bring home how to be home in your body?
Well, someone was mentioned earlier, Madeline was talking, she mentioned, when someone can mention something that locks you up. It's funny because I haven't thought about this in a long time, but what came up for me was when I was in 6th grade, I was doing music. I was taking an instrument, and I was in choir, and I was so expressed around music. And my music teacher pulled me aside, and he said, "You're so talented at music." And then I remember so clearly, still to this day, my mom, we were sitting there around. We were just at the house, and she was like, however it came up, she said, "Oh, being a musician, yuck. Ugh. Have to work Friday and Saturday night." What she said specifically was ish.
Yeah.
And I'd let music go. And it wasn't until college, through divine grace, that music came back into my life. I learned to play guitar, became self-expressed through music, moved to Nashville as a singer-songwriter. So many great things. I met Sarah because I was a singer-songwriter. So many great things came into my life because of music. But at one point, when I was younger, that got turned off because my mom said, ish. Being a musician, ish. And it shut me down. So miracle makers, unlock yourself from whatever told you ish about yourself or your gifts being expressed, because so much of the miraculous is being closed off. So unleash yourself. Take a class.
Yourself. And watch you on Bravo and all the other various, you've got a YouTube channel, you've got all these links on your website. And I know that if the link isn't working right now, go back and visit the links on MadelineSinclaire.com. It is beautiful. The website is beautiful, and the secrets, the burlesque secrets, are invaluable. And we just have about a few more minutes to talk, and I want to make sure that we highlight for the miracle makers that when you're dancing, when you're performing for yourself, when you're using the feathers or learning how to use some of the toys that you've created to empower the dancer that lives within, you can't be out of the moment. Whatever was paining you before, whatever story you were telling yourself, it gets released because you're present in your body. You're learning a new skill. You're present because you're waking up cells within your body that have been dormant but existed the whole time. So, Madeleine, what are one of the secrets you might that may be on that list or may not, but that's coming up for you now?
One of the biggest ones is that life is too short for someday.
Yes.
Hear that, miracle makers, right there. Yeah.
That's my mantra these days. And the reason why is because a lot of people will say, "Oh, I'll take a burlesque class when I lose weight, or I'll take a burlesque class after I do this, or I'll take a burlesque class when I'm not pregnant." You know, those are just various things. There could be a million reasons why. But guess what? Life is too short for someday. Why not do it now? There are so many things you can discover for yourself by dancing, even if it's not in a class. Watch a video. There's lots of things on the internet that teach you to do things. And you can even reach out and find me, and I can help you find those things. So go for it.
Go for it. Just
Go
do
for
it.
it.
Do
Do
it
it.
now. Yeah, reach out. Start that journey.
Explore the links that are on Madeline Sinclair's website. And can you say your website very clearly for those that are
Absolutely.
listening?
It's www.madelinesinclair.com, and it's Madelinesinclaire.
And it's so easy to find you when you Google you.
Yeah.
Because you have so many awards and you have so many talents that have been highlighted and awarded and showcased throughout the country. You're performing all over the place. And so that is so, thank you for making time for the Miracle Makers and for being with us. And I hold such gratefulness in my heart because I know this work brings world peace. It's when the dancer becomes the dance, and burlesque is the dancer becoming the dance. You embody it fully.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. And with these last few minutes, Greg and I just want to invite all the miracle makers to stretch your arms out, to stretch your hearts out, and to take a look at what we've created for you on drsarahlarson.com about going to Egypt. Can we talk a little bit about what happened for you on this last trip to Egypt and all the healing that came about?
Yeah, Egypt is amazing, and not only amazing, it's the journey that we're going to embark on, which is similar to one we took the last time, is so talk about just do it and jump into it. That's what it is, because the land is so ancient. And it's about healing. It's about ascending. It's about shifting. It's about, transformation. It's such a powerful place with the temples, and especially the pyramid and the Sphinx, where we have these private ceremonies with just our group. It's such a transformational experience. I cannot put into words how I would just so encourage you to throw off the shackles, whatever they may be, and say yes to joining us in Egypt, because it's so amazingly transformative and kind of like groundbreaking. It shatters who you were and allows who you are to emerge.
And who you are is miraculous.
Yes.
We are getting to stand on the shoulders of giants. And when you stand in front of the great pyramids and you feel the energy coming off those pyramids, you feel and you're able to do what only kings and pharaohs were able to do. We're able to go into the pyramids. We're able to sit at the foot of the Sphinx. And so we want you to see the ceremonies that happened last year. They're on the website, drsarahlarson.com. We want you to really consider, are you an old soul? Are you a miracle maker? And if your inner knowing knows that Egypt is calling you, call us, because we are passionate about bringing this into your life, to break open the pyramids that live inside you. Pyramids are connected to the star systems. They're connected to the ley lines. They're connected to miracle making.
Every stone of the pyramids was put in place by human beings with the powerful intention of assisting a human being ascend to the afterlife. They're not just like skyscrapers or other buildings created for some sort of functional business or commercial. These were structures designed for human beings to ascend. They're so amazingly powerful. And we have a 2-hour private ceremony in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid that is just will allow you to
phenomenal.
ascend. Phenomenal.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
phenomenal.
So please join us.
Please join us. Thank you, Miracle Makers. Until next time, we are with you and we love you. We'll see you soon.
See you soon, Miracle.